have a special guest on tonight. Oh, shout out to my AZ team with Katasha Pope and Janai Laban. And special shout out to the host, Yvette. Love you, girl. Thank you all. Come on in. We have a special guest tonight. Her name is Shanese. And she looked like she just joined. All right, here we go. Hey, hey. I'm going to welcome her on in. Hi.
Hey.
Hey, hey.
Can you
I can't see you, love.
okay,
Can you see me?
Yeah, girl, I see your
You
beautiful
see
face.
me? I can't see
Let
you.
me see. Hold on, let me see what I'm doing. Oh, you know what? I gotta turn the camera. Yeah, I have a
Okay.
new phone, so
Hey, there you
there we
go.
go.
Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the Life
Hi.
Her podcast. How are you tonight?
I am awesome and amazing. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm sweltering in this Arizona heat. Where you from?
I'm from Kansas City, but I live in Atlanta and it's 80, I think 88 degrees today.
It got hot
So I'm
quick.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it did. It's
It got
like we skipped over a whole,
just straight to summer,
a
right?
whole season. Yeah,
Oh,
damn.
okay. All right. Well, my viewers are just ready to listen to you, and we are excited to have you on tonight. So let me know who Shanice is. Give me your background, where you from. Well, you already said where you from. So what's going on?
Yes, well, I am from the Show Me State, Kansas City, Missouri. Born and raised there. Lived there until 2019. Decided to move here just to see what other opportunities were available. You know, there's limited opportunities in the Midwest. So after getting my family on Family Feud and going, deciding to volunteer to go to jail, I decided that I wanted to move here. And so, I'm an educator, I'm a creative being, I'm a business owner,
Oh, nice.
I'm a dog owner, dog lover,
Mhm.
and just overall person that loves to give back. That's something that my parents instilled in me at a very young age is to give back, to the community and give back to people. So that's what I try to do with my personal life and my business and professional life as well.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. Well, I love it. I love that you said an entrepreneur, an educator. We gonna get right into it, Miss Drum. Where did Drama Queen come from?
So I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority
Oh,
Incorporated.
okay.
And so, yes, I have been an actress since 1997.
Okay.
I became a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha in 2008. And so a lot of my big sisters, sorors, line sisters supported me throughout my acting
Okay.
journey. And so that's where Drama Queen and 16 is my line number. So that's where Drama Queen 16 comes from. And it was something that I prayed for. I was like, I knew at a young age that um, I wanted to be a member of AKA. So yes. Oh, I see somebody said they want to be on Family Feud. Girl, it's fun. Look, I probably shouldn't be doing that.
It's
But
okay.
look, hit me up and I will give you some advice on how to get on there because I sent in a video, honey, and bam, I got a call back immediately. So I
Wow.
can help you get on there, girl.
Okay.
I can help you get on there.
So what? So I'm just gonna ask you. I watched this show and I was like, there's nothing in me that would want to volunteer, but I saw like your point. You work with at risk youth, and I saw like the point of it.
Yeah.
What made you want to go? Just let me know.
So honestly, I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I initially applied for or replied to the casting call for it because they can't say, "Hey, do you want to volunteer to go to jail?"
Right.
You
Okay.
can't. You can't say that. So it was just kind of a generic message. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll just apply and see. I had attended the Tasha Smith acting workshop a year prior, had an opportunity to spend some time with her. And I just figured, why not? And yeah, I was a fan of the show, had watched all of the prior seasons, and I used to just think, you have to be some kind of crazy to volunteer to go to jail. And what got me, it was the at-risk youth, but I kept saying no, no, no. And God kept saying, hold on, wait a minute, don't stop. Just pause for a minute. Don't put stop on it. And so I started researching about people that have, celiac disease like myself. And I said, let me see how they did in jail. And I read horrific things. I'll say that. I read a lot of horrific things about people getting sick and almost dying. And I kept giving them an excuse to why I couldn't do it. And then God just would remove the obstacle. He just kept removing the obstacle. And it was like, anybody else that has celiac that's allergic to gluten would not probably volunteer to go to jail. And I said, I have a mouthpiece. People listen to me for some reason. I don't know why, but people listen to me. And, I often can use my personality and my humor to get through difficult situations. I just went through the T-Saw acting workshop. She's taught me how to use my past pain and trauma to be able to get through, different scenes for a movie. So she's trained me to do that, I thought, but really she was training me to do this, to go to volunteer and go to jail and be able to sell my story enough to get in and be able to really touch lives and get to know people and minister to them and pray with them and even communicate with them now. And so I just start really thinking about it, and it was not a popular decision. I said no several times, and I think because it was a unique opportunity for the show, because you can't be on medicine. You can't, and for celiac, you're not on medicine. You just can't eat certain foods. You have to maintain a certain lifestyle. So it was a unique opportunity. And so they kept, digging and asking more questions. And originally, I felt like they really wanted to make a difference. And they were really riding hard to get me there. And I was like, you know what? They want to make a difference. They want to bring awareness, and I want to be a part of that. And so God said, go. So I signed up and I went.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, bravery to the 10th power. Cause my next, I mean, let's tell the viewers also, like, I mean, you said it on the show, like your very thoughts in that van when you were about to go in, but what were your real thoughts? Like, what was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind is, what in the hell did I just sign up for? Like, seriously, like it was, I really wanted to just say, you know what, I'm just playing. I'm not ready for this. Because it really hit home. Like, I'm getting ready to go to jail, and I'm a control freak. So I'm getting ready to give up all control of what I eat, what I wear, where I sleep, what time I wake up, all of that. And I was just like, I don't think I want to do this. But I thought about other people that were innocent, that didn't want to go to jail, and people that, didn't really have a choice. And so I was like, I'm going to suck it up. And I'm gonna try, I talked all that mess like, yeah, if I start something, I'ma finish it. But then when I got in that van, and then like the things on my ankles tight, and it was so funny because something y'all didn't see when it really got real for me is we were out there, shooting, the preparation scene for probably maybe a couple hours. And so I had to go to the restroom. And so I was like, hey, I got a potty, does anybody have any tissue? And they're like, yeah. And so they gave me some tissue. And so then I'm like, does anybody have any hand sanitizer? And they're like, dude, you're about to go to jail and you're asking for hand sanitizer. And I was like,
right.
Oh, well, so that's like when it got real. And when they put the chains, like those chains on my feet like really, really hurt.
Wow.
And it took me back, really, it took me back to slavery days and thinking about, people being shackled. And it was like, I gotta suck it up because if other people have done this, I'm volunteering to do this.
Right.
And so
Right.
I gotta suck it up and I gotta just do it. And I'm just gonna do the best I can. And
and you did.
Hope for the best.
Yes. And for those of you who do not know, it's tuning in and that don't know, Miss Shanese volunteered to go to jail. She wanted to raise awareness. I mean, you did it for several reasons, and one of them was, of course, to raise awareness to celiac. Am I saying it correctly? Celiac disease, which is what I want to get into as well. Because I was getting mad for you as I was watching. I'm like, give her the food that she wants, that she needs. She can't eat that. So how did you feel when you first got in and you knew that? I mean, you didn't eat for 3 days. What was that like? Tell us about that.
So I'm going to be completely honest, and I don't think I've told this full story to anybody in the interview. So I think I was set up from the start. And let me tell you why. They gave me an original time of when I was supposed to go into the jail. And so I was like, okay, so I'll make sure that I eat because I was at the hotel. So I was like, I'll make sure that I eat. So then they called me and they're like, hey, we actually got to move that time up like a couple hours. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, well, we got to stop getting something to eat because, I'm about to go to jail and I don't know what they're going to have. So they were like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know what's in between. So I got on my GPS. I'm like, let's just go to Wendy's. I'll get a potato. I'll get a salad. I'll get a Frosty. I'll just, I'll get some food. And so we were in Wendy's and it was taking forever. Like it was taking 20 minutes. And so the PA came in there and they were like, well, how long is it going to be? And so I'm like, I don't know. So I'm asking. So they came back and they're like, we got to get the money back. We got to go.
Wow.
So I didn't even get to eat before I went in. And so I was nervous because I'm like, okay, like I wanted to go in, full belly and, at least go in full.
Right.
That didn't happen. So 3 days, I remember they didn't show this. I was laying in the boat, which is the bed. I was laying in the boat and I was literally just shaking and I was rocking back and forth and I was just crying because I'm like, I am so hungry because they've not had anything that I can eat. Yeah. And so production actually came and got me. And it was, they had snuck some food in there and they had snuck some water. Okay. And so they were like, just hold on a second. It wasn't like food. It was like, I think it was like fruit. I had Snickers, I had potato chips, I had water, I had Sprite. And I'm just like barfing out and I'm just eating everything. And I'm like, please do not show this video. But that really kind of helped get me through. And, they told me, they said, there is a nurse that knows your situation, that knows about the show. And, she's working on your meal. And so The next day, I had a meal that was in a styrofoam container that looked different than everyone else's. And, it felt good. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be able to eat. But then I later learned that they didn't even know what gluten-free was because the inmates were the ones that were cooking the food.
Wow.
And so it was difficult, but I always knew that if I could get to commissary, I would be okay. And see, what happened is I had an opportunity I got in on the right day to order commissary, but Miss Williams, who is the CO that everybody wanted to lay hands
Yes.
on, she didn't like my roommate, and so we had to leave the room because they were installing the camera. They wanted to make sure that my camera worked, since I was a participant.
Okay.
And so it wasn't officially free time, but Tiffany told her, was like, hey, she has a food allergy, so she needs to go ahead and put her commissary order in. She just got here.
Yeah.
And so Miss Williams was like, no, 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 absolutely not. And so it took me 9 days to get, I know, right? It took me 9 days to get commissary. So once I got commissary,
Yeah.
I was okay. But the crazy thing was the inmates really took care of me. I had inmates that gave me their commissary,
Oh,
didn't expect anything in return. Yeah, gave me commissary. Ashley's roommate, she would always get Starburst and she was pregnant. So she only liked the pink. So she would give me the orange, the red, the yellow. They would go around, collect fruit. They were like, well, what can you eat on the plate? And I would tell them, and they would go around and collect food for me. And so people think negative things about inmates, but it was really, being in a sorority, I thrive off of sisterhood. And it was a real sisterhood that I didn't expect from inmates that are criminals or perceived,
right.
criminals. So they helped me. My relationship with Tiffany and Angel helped me get some commissary like really, really quick,
Okay.
So you had to be street smart. I no longer was Shanice the teacher when I went in there. I was Shanice the inmate.
Yeah.
So I had to think, like an inmate and navigate like an inmate. And so I stole stuff. I did what I had to do to survive, as inmates do
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah. Survival mode to the max. And it was a statement that you said.
Yeah.
I remember you said it's not even the inmates that I had the problem with. It was the staff. It was what, and you kind of went into it was Miss Williams. She was kind of, now
Mm-hmm.
was she like, as much as you can tell the viewers, was she like mean for real or like mean for just television? Was she
No, she was mean for
okay?
real. I think she would get off, like she would say stuff, and I'm rewatching the episodes now and doing reaction videos, and it makes my skin crawl to watch it because there's a lot of stuff that y'all didn't see.
Yeah.
The way that she would talk to, the inmates, she would call, and these were inmates. She only messed with the inmates that had low self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? That,
Yeah.
you know, she knew that she could get to. She would call them fat.
Oh.
She would tell them that their weave was messed up. There was an episode you saw her spray the pepper spray on them
Yes.
and call the girl a big butt, or I'm not gonna curse, but she was really mean, and it was points where I didn't want to communicate with her. 60 days in, season 6 to 60 days in. So I had to communicate with her because it would be at times when I'm like, I don't want to say anything. And God is like, you said you came here to make a change. So if you really, really came here to make a change, you got to address her. You got to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very mean, and she came to work to bully. Yes.
Yeah.
She came to work to bully people. And a lot of times they would cry. And it made me so mad. It was one point that I got so mad I spazzed out about her because there were a lot of inmates in there that had mental issues that just weren't strong enough. And I'm just like, why would she do that? Why would she say those things? And, she would deprive us of, our free time, deprive us of eating. We were locked up usually 23 hours a day. And we looked forward to meal times because that's the time to socialize. That is the time to just get out of your room and stretch. And she would deprive us of that. She would deprive us of our phone time. And so for those that were strong, she would deprive us of those things like commissary and things that the only things that we had to look forward to, our email time, our video chat time. She was a horrible person in real life. I have watched her since the show, when the show first aired. I don't communicate with her. I don't have a reason. I don't have a desire because I don't need that energy. But like her and Ashley, she was bullying, talking about what she was part of the show. No, like Ashley has the receipts. Like Ashley knows when she got hired, and it was way before 60 days in, was even going to be involved with Etowah County Detention Center. She is a horrible person. She's a liar because you're not part of the show. You didn't even know what the show was. She was the fact that you knew that there were cameras there, and you would be that mean and hateful. That's just who you are. That is who you are. That is what is embedded in you. And, I pray for her now because I know the world has been made privy to who she is, what she looks like, how she interacts. And God doesn't like ugly. And from what I was told, she had got a job, but once the show came on, she lost her job. I don't wish anybody to lose their job, but you can't treat people like that. And if that's how you are, in one place, that's more than likely how you are in other places. It was not a show. It was not editing. I talk about editing all the time. She was edited in a good way, if that seems possible. She was edited in a good way. You guys didn't even see a lot of the real nasty, negative stuff that she did instead.
And I'm sure it's a lot of things that we didn't see, but just the things that we did see was enough. I mean, I can't even I can't even imagine what else was going on. I mean, and it was a point. It was a show. It was a episode where did she get fired or did she leave or did she come back? I thought
Well,
we're good.
we thought she was gone too, but the problem is they can't keep correctional officers. I think at the time they were paying like $11.99 an hour, and they couldn't keep people. So we thought she was gone because she was like, I don't need this. I don't need this. Yeah. So we thought she was gone, but she did eventually get fired because there was a moment when I was ready to tap out, and the chief, when I gave the signal, the chief came down there and he was like, we need you to stay because we are getting rid of people based on the information you're giving us. Like, you don't have people bullying you, like you getting the intel. She did eventually get fired, but there was a lot more abuse that happened that shouldn't have happened. Had she, been fired earlier on.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So can you talk about how, at what point did you just say, I got to get out. I got to get out of here. This is not for me because I don't think they showed the time frame that you were in there. But I do know that you did leave. For those of you who do not know, Shanese has been a part of 60 Days In, and it comes on, it streams through Netflix, and it's season 6. And she volunteered to go to jail. There were 2 other women with you that went in. 2 other women and 4 men, I believe. Correct me if I'm
Hmm.
wrong.
Correct,
So
correct.
at what point did you say, "Yeah, I'm out of here. This is it."
So there were two things because they never really showed my true story. They made it seem like it was something else. So there were two things going on. So the first thing that was going on was my feet were swollen.
Yes.
And my feet were swollen really bad and I was having really bad heart palpitations. We didn't have pillows, and so there was a grievance policy in place, and I followed the grievance policy, but nobody ever got back to me. They got back to Ashley though, but that's a whole nother
Yeah.
story. So my feet were swollen, and I would sleep on my arm because I didn't have a pillow, and my heart would be beating so fast that it would wake me up out of my sleep, and I'm like, something's wrong. And so I went to medical, and they were like, hey, we'll get back to you, and they didn't. And so I was in church one Sunday, and one of the, I can't say her name, one of the correction officers that was a good one who did not agree to be a part of the
Okay.
show, she was like, I need you to go talk to medical, like now. And so I go talk to medical, and they look at my feet and they're like, you need to go upstairs.
Yeah.
And so they took me upstairs, and so they're like, well, let us look and see what's going on. Well, we came down and tried to give you some medicine, and you denied it. And I was like, that never happened. I was like, that never happened. Nobody did that. So I asked the CO that worked that day, and she said they never called you for medical. And so I called my mother that day, and I had already set up stories for my family because I come from a very highly educated family and family that has good common
Yeah.
sense. So we sat down and I gave them different scenarios where we knew that the phones were going to be tapped. So if, when I'm ready to come home, this is the story that we'll use. Is like, I was there for assault. So he's willing to drop the charges because I owe him some money. If I pay him this money, he said he'll drop the charges. So, we already had stories set up in place to kind of
Okay.
communicate in a safe
Mhm.
way. And so when I called my mother that day when medical lied, um, I was crying, and they were like, well, we'll bring the medicine
Mhm.
down. And my mom was like, no,
Yeah.
no, don't take nothing that they give you. She said, you just need to go ahead and pay that man off so you can get out of there. And what happened prior to that was, which is like I was ready to go, was I had been made aware that they knew that Jennifer was on the show. And so my roommate pulled me to the side, and she's like, we all had our little nicknames, and they were like, hey, her name was Eyebrows. They was like, a couple people pulled me to the side. They was like, hey, Eyebrows, they found out, the maintenance supervisor found out that she is, on the show, and we think she's on 60 Days In, and it's about to go down. So you need to not hang with
Yeah.
her. And so for me, I knew that I couldn't go talk to her. And I wasn't talking to her at that time because at that time I had already identified that she was somebody that was fake and that I would not ever deal with if it was outside of the jail. So I had kind of distanced myself.
Mhm.
But I had decided that at the end of the day, we were still family because we were there with a joint
Yeah.
mission. And so I got the information to
Mhm.
Ashley, and I told Ashley everything that was told to me. I said, you got to get this. You have to get this to Jennifer. I don't know what she can do, what she needs to do. She needs to tell production, but it's about to go down. They already know, or they're saying 60 days in. I'm trying to play it off. And so within 24 hours, Jennifer went up to the maintenance supervisor. She confronted him, told him everything that I
Mhm.
said. So then I get confronted and basically am being called a snitch. Like, it's real funny that, within 24 hours of me telling you some information, trying to give you some information to protect you, then every single thing gets back to her. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to play it off and be big and bad. Like, well, have you seen me talk to her? Well, they think you on 60 days in. Well, they think you on 60 days in. Like, I'm trying to like go hard
Yeah.
and like, oh my God. And so then I felt like people that trusted
Mhm.
me were kind of coming and talking to me, but side eye
Yeah.
me like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we think you apart. So, but between the fact my feet were swollen, my heart palpitation, the medical team lied, it felt like it was no longer a safe space because my own roommate, who I had a great relationship
Yeah.
with, is now looking at me funny. It no longer felt like a safe
Yeah.
space. So it was like, it was a point when y'all heard me say, I'll blow all of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And it was because I had already talked to
Okay.
production and we had already had a plan because that was actually Memorial Day.
Oh.
And so they were like, we can't take you out at the holiday, but we're going to take you out on this Wednesday and we're going to tell you exactly the plan. Well, that Wednesday came and went and they didn't do that. So I knew in order for me to I needed to know what the plan was for me to get out of the jail because at this time my health was deteriorating. I don't know if you can see it, but I just had surgery in November. And the reason my feet were, swollen was because I ended up developing Graves' disease while I was in jail due to the poor nutrition.
Oh.
And that is why I had the heart palpitations as well. So my health was number one and my safety was just as important. So I knew if I spazzed out,
It wouldn't have been good.
somebody was going to come in here and tell me
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
Is production came in there. They didn't show
Yeah.
anything. They didn't show this. They had me looking like a crazy, black woman, the complaining black woman. But production came in there and they were like, we saw you, spazzing out and we saw you giving the signal.
Yeah.
And we can't get you out right now. And we were trying to get you out, but we couldn't because of because of this. And are you okay to stay in here, tonight and we can bring you out in the morning and talk to you about the plans to get you out? And I was like, that's all I
Yeah.
needed is if you couldn't get me out, you could have just told me something. I'm not leaving because, I'm having like a direct issue with the inmate. I'm not leaving because of, somebody stole my
Right.
commissary. My health and my safety, and you guys are not taking it serious. And so it didn't surprise me when I saw the show, the way that they portrayed me, because they didn't take it
Right.
serious.
Right.
And, to have had surgery that cost $375,000 to have a thyroidectomy because I wanted to volunteer to go to jail to bring awareness, and they failed to show the true the true story of someone like myself who is
Right.
incarcerated. It's a little sad, but hey, it's opportunities like this that I thank you for, where I can really get out and really share my
The
true
real
story.
story. And we're glad to have you because you're telling us a lot, behind the scenes. I mean, of course, we have this picture of jail and how bad it is, but it sounds like it is more the staff. It's not the inmates that you would have, the most problems with. And so what I was going to ask with that was, do you feel that being a staff at jail, knowing that people, not you, but other people, the crimes that they do they use that to their advantage? Oh, I'm gonna treat you like this because you didn't murder somebody. I don't care about your disease because you did this. You think that they use that to the advantage?
I absolutely think they do, but I absolutely think too that let me be clear, there are some inmates in there that are slicksters,
Mm-hmm.
that are all about getting over. And, there are inmates that if they can try to figure out a way to get a special, tray,
Yeah.
as I got a special tray so they can trade it and get different stuff, then they're going to do that. So I think it is, a matter of, yes, you're an inmate, and if you knew you had this disease when you supposedly, committed this crime, but I think that a lot of inmates can take advantage of the situation and try to get special treatment because, I didn't realize the power of my special meals. Even my special meals that were not gluten free, it was something different that other people didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had the ability to trade and get different stuff that I needed. Like, hey, can I get this for me? Let me get your oranges. Let me get your apple.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a Sprite? Do you have a bottle of water? And so I think it is, you are looked at as a criminal. And that was one of the things that I told Miss Williams in one of the episodes. I said, everybody that's in jail is not necessarily a
Yeah.
criminal, because if there's innocent people in prison, you know that there must be innocent people in jail. And then some people that are in jail they had a ticket
Yeah.
and they couldn't afford to pay it. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're a criminal. Yes, they broke a
Right.
law, but does that mean that they need to leave the jail in worse condition than they walked in? Absolutely not. The American Disability Act, I can't remember the year, but they made, celiac a disability, a blind disability. You can't see
Mm-hmm.
it, but they wanted it to be something that is a protected, we're protected when we go to places like a university, a hospital, a jail, prison. When I had surgery, I was so nervous because I kept telling them, hey, you guys know I have celiac, I have
Yes.
celiac, I have celiac.
Yeah.
And they made sure that I had a gluten-free meal. And that was the point. A lot of people were like, well, why would you volunteer if you knew you had this, or you just developed this to go? I didn't need a storyline to develop once I got into
Right.
jail. That was one of the reasons that I was selected, was to let people think about, you could go to jail innocently. You could be driving down the street and get arrested. I think about jail differently now. I do. I can drive down the street and, I could be on my
Mm-hmm.
phone and I can hit somebody and kill somebody and go to prison. That doesn't mean that I'm a habitual
Right.
criminal, but I'm going to probably go to jail and go to prison because I killed someone. And now I'm going to be in a worse off health situation because of one mistake,
One mistake.
you
Yes.
know? And so it's just, I wanted to bring awareness. Like, you have to think, I could leave. I literally think about this. I can leave my house today and think I'm going to come back home to my dog, and I don't. How many people leave home? They have teenage kids or kids that are at home, that are old enough to be at home, and they leave and they get arrested, and they don't see their kids as a free
Yeah.
person, for a while. So it was, I wanted to do it to bring awareness to the
Yes.
jail. Like, hey, you need to wake up,
Yeah.
because this affects, you know, a lot of people. It affects 1% of the people. And your jails need to know what
Mm-hmm.
celiac is,
Right.
what gluten is, what the allergy is, the difference between a food allergy, a food intolerance. It just needs to be more education. And I think because people think you're a criminal, we don't want to educate ourselves on ways to help criminals, because
Right.
if you weren't in jail, then you can control your situation, and then I wouldn't have to learn about you and your situation. So if you have this special situation, then maybe you need to stay your butt out of
Right.
jail.
Exactly. I love it. No, I seriously, because you hit it right on the head when you said about, you could come back home. You could do anything and go to jail and they'll treat you like you did something habitually. And that's not fair
Mm-hmm.
to a citizen. You know what I mean? And then you could come out
Yeah.
worse, have with mental problems
Yeah.
galore. I mean, I just love this because you did bring awareness, and it brought me to my next question to you. Do you feel like there was anything positive that came out of it?
So the first year that the show came out, I would have said no. And the reason I would have said no is because I was so angry at the way that I was portrayed on the
Yeah.
show that I didn't allow myself. I didn't allow myself to be found by fans.
Right.
I didn't allow myself to tell my real story and tell what really happened or did the reaction videos. Shout out to my manager. He's like, people are wanting to hear your story. You got to put it out there. So at first, no, but now, you know, when I start going out, you know, the show came on right before COVID
Yes.
hit. I think one of mine, I'm going to try not to get emotional. A moment that let me know that change is coming is I was in Target. And I'll never forget this. I was in Target in Edgewood. I was doing shopping for shit, baby. I was delivering groceries. So I was on a mission. You know, I wasn't even in the zone thinking about fans or anything. And so I'm like, you're timed when you're doing this. So I'm going to my car. And this lady, she's like, oh my God, it's you. And I'm looking like, who is it?
Yeah.
And she's on the phone and she's like, I gotta go. It really is Shanice. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
And she came up to me and she's like, you know, I have celiac disease. And she said, I hated watching you on the show because she said, I love watching you because I felt like somebody understands because people think we're so dramatic and, you know, because we can't have our food touched. And she was like, finally, somebody's going out there and they're brave enough to bring awareness. And I just commend you, sister. And it touched me. And God started allowing those opportunities to happen more and more in person. I was getting my eyebrows waxed one day, and the lady had my mask on, and we started talking about my journey to Atlanta, and I had said something about being on the show, and she stepped back, and she's like, I do not react like this. I am so sorry. I am being
No,
unprofessional.
you're fine.
She's like, it is really you. So I say that to say, now that I've opened myself up, like on YouTube, I had a guy. I had a guy reach out to me less than 30 days ago, and he was in prison. And he told me, and this is on my YouTube page, like it's a comment, it's out there for people to see. He was in prison, and he said, you know, he was in prison for years, and he never told anybody that he had celiac disease because he witnessed how other inmates were treated, and people thought that they were weak because they had this and they weren't really fed gluten-free food. So why do I want to share this and, you know, be considered weak, or, you know, why do I want to go through that? And he was like, I just didn't say anything. And I'm like, what? Wow. And I'm having people reach out to me with these stories, and I'm like, you know what? I know the jail made some changes, but the changes the jail made was good. You know, now they know what gluten is. They had, you know, a poster in the kitchen and say, these are the things that they can't have.
Wow.
But it's more so, yeah, they were able to do that. It's the nurses that reach out to me and they say, wow, I've never thought about that. And it's that. It's the haters too, but I block those. It's the people that really see and they say, you know what, we've always been a fan of yours. We could see through the BS, and we saw your feet swollen. You know what I'm saying? We saw that. It's when my students get into it with people that are talking mess about me. Like, no, we seen our teacher, you know, be sick. Right. We saw her go through that process when her hair fell out. We saw her when she lost those 90 pounds. You know, it's that where I feel like I'm a daddy's girl. My daddy and I did not talk for over a week because I made a decision to go onto this
Wow.
show.
Wow.
That has never
Hmm.
happened. And so I feel like now, some people may say, well, the show aired years ago. Well, one of the things that AB told me is the show is on Netflix, the show is on
Yes.
Hulu. They are still capitalizing off you. Tell your
It's reaching the
story.
masses.
People want to
Hmm.
hear
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
There you go. And so I don't feel like it was in vain. I feel like every day I get some type of message because I've now opened myself. I tag myself and I say 60 days in participant.
Hmm.
I'm opening myself to the good,
Yes.
the bad, and the ugly because if I didn't open myself up for the ugly and the bad, I wouldn't have been able to open myself up to the good and really share
Yeah.
and do the things that I'm doing now to just try to bring awareness because I I've been through a lot health
Hmm.
wise. I have a lot of people would not have volunteered. I have a brain disorder. I never talked about that because I was supposed to be on medicine, but I don't take it because I don't. I have a brain disorder. I have Graves' disease. I have celiac disease. I have thyroid eye disease. I don't let those things affect me and go in vain. If I can help other people through their
Yes.
journey
Yeah.
and can help them, then it makes me feel better. I can't have children. That's one of the reasons why I decided to take such a huge pay cut and leave corporate America and go teach because I said, Lord, motherhood was taken away from me, but it really wasn't because I've had the opportunity to mother several at-risk youth,
Yes. Yeah.
kids that struggle where their parents were in
Yes.
jail and they would tell me these stories and I would be looking up and I'm like, oh, oh my God, they don't have any money on their books for commissary. Woo, whoopty. It was a complete learning curve. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it really prepared me for COVID
You know what?
because it really
Yeah.
did. And I learned a lot about
Yes.
myself
Yeah. Yeah.
and how to just be empathetic and
Yes.
sympathetic with people.
Absolutely. Well, it's safe to say that this was your assignment, and when God spoke to you, I'm so glad, like you said, you had several setbacks saying no, no, no. I'm so glad that you were obedient because I heard you say you were a daddy's girl. I was a daddy's girl as well, and he always would say if you could reach one person, I mean, that's all that
Mm-hmm.
matters. I mean, you're I'm so excited
Right.
because you're purposeful. You had a purpose for it. And even though production, edited a lot of stuff, it made you appear like this crazy person. You know what you went there for,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how God spoke to
Right.
you. So I applaud
Right.
you. You are courageous, and that's what Life Her is really
Thank
all about. Because
you.
we're speaking life into her and him too. Reaching the masses, like you said, they reached out to you on your YouTube channel, and somebody when you went to see get your eyebrows done. I mean, that is amazing, and I applaud you for that. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for that. And I wanted to ask you one more question, kind of piggyback a
Sure.
little bit with the inmates. For those of you who just joined, I'm with Shanice, and she has been on was it on A&E first? It was on A&E,
Yes, it was on A&E
A&E Life.
first in 2020.
Okay, in 2020, and then Lifetime, and now Netflix has it. So it's reaching. It's reaching the masses. Everybody is watching it.
Mhm.
Someone, one of my sisters, she commented and said, "Oh, I watched her on that season. When I promoted it and everything." And I was like, "Oh, that's good." So, what I wanted to ask was, when they saw the cameras, what did they think? What did everyone else think?
So the blessing in it is, somebody said obedience is better than sacrifice. I had no idea when I did this uh, show that the previous sheriff would have been accused of stealing money from the food budget. And he was able to build a $750,000 beach house. And so essentially, if let's say the budget was $5 per person per inmate, essentially it was not against the law for him to say, well, I'm only going to take $1 per inmate for food, and then I'm going to pocket the other $4. And that was not against the law. And so he was replaced by the new sheriff. And there were, the lots there were over 200 lots that were broken. And, that's the whole point of going to jail, is to be locked up. They found over 1 ton of contraband in the jail when the new sheriff came in. And so, $750,000. So the cameras were there to see how the jail was with the new sheriff. How is the food? Everybody said the food was bad. So how is the food now? And it's like weird. And I was like, guys, you really have a sense of humor that one of the things I'm going in here to talk about is food. And then the previous sheriff was stealing from the food budget. And so they didn't just take the participants out. They took they took the other inmates out. And I'm laughing because they took my roommate out, and it was so funny because as a person that has celiac, this is probably TMI, but I got a little serious, so I got to get a little jokey too. As a person with celiac disease, we had bad gas. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there. And so they had interviewed my roommate, and so they took her out to interview her. And so she came back, and I was like, what did they ask you? And so she was like, they were just asking me, what type of roommates you were. And I was like, oh, she's great. And they were like, well, what makes her a great roommate? And they was like, well, she's clean, and we have fun, we play cards. They was like, was there anything bad you can say about her? And she was like, well, she does fart a lot. And I was like, Tiffany, you can't say that. And so they interviewed, I know, I'm like, don't do that, girl. But they interviewed the other inmates, so it wasn't so obvious. So they thought they were, because a lot of the people, unfortunately, a lot of the inmates that were in Etowah County Detention Center, they're usually in and out. And so they know each other. They've been there. They were there when the previous sheriff was there. And so this was an opportunity for them to just kind of say, oh, yeah, things are different. And these are the things that we see. And so, but they also start talking about 60 Days In, too. Because, of course, I was familiar with the show, but those acting skills that Tasha Smith, thank you, Tasha Smith, acting workshop T-Saw, thank you so much, because when I was accused of being on 60 Days In, I usually was only accused when I hung out with Ashley and Jennifer. Then I had to go ham. I had to go crazy. Like, don't ask me again. I know I had these big eyes and I can look crazy. Like, I had to spaz out on them. And it worked. So so they still thought they knew that's what they were told they were, being interviewed for, and while the cameras were there, but it was still like, nah, this is that 60 Days In. And I was like, wait, 60 Days In, I'm playing so like, okay, so wait a minute. So wait, it's a show called what? And people do what?
Like, huh?
They volunteer to do what? Like, I literally went off on a girl. I was like, girl, you see this food? You see these feet?
Right.
You think I'm a
I don't know,
what the heck? like they was apologizing, like, I am so
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
And so it was, you know, they knew, they were familiar with 60 Days. It was the sixth season.
Mhm.
They thought it, but they still had a good reason to be, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying, in the
Mhm.
jail,
Mhm.
because
Very good
the
reason.
previous sheriff was a thief and, was stealing the food.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
just the fact that the locks, I think they said they had 212 locks that were broken.
Oh my
So
goodness.
what were you
Right.
doing? And so it made sense. But like I said, when you have people that come in there and they looking at you, they're like, you kind of pretty, you got your teeth, you talking like you got a little
Yes.
sense,
Yeah.
you know, what's up? Like, even the point, I had just put a video out about, my cover story to my roommate, like how I had to sell it to her because she's looking at me leery, and I knew I gotta sell her this cover story
Yeah.
like right now in its first like 5 minutes, or my time here is gonna be hell. Like when I got through with her, like I was talking about, like I was there for a shot. I was like, I hit him with the Ciroc bottle, girl. I saw the white meat showing, and she's like, ooh, like she like her hairs on her arm was raising. She like, yeah, you crazy. I'm like, yeah, girl, I don't take no
Right.
mess.
That's what sold it.
You know what you had, because there's a guy, I just did a video about him on my YouTube. Matt, he messed up his cover story,
Oh.
and he tapped out early too, like a couple days.
Oh. Okay.
If you mess up your cover
Mhm.
story, it's like nobody's gonna believe
Exactly.
you.
Exactly.
And it yeah, you got to be comfortable. But I was so comfortable, like I was so cold with my cover story that I believe my own cover story, okay? Like, for
Yeah.
real. And it was like when I was telling the story, I'm visualizing somebody that had pissed me off that bad,
Mhm.
where I wanted to pick up that Ciroc bottle and go upside their head, and then take it back
Yeah.
to the emotional
Mhm.
side. Because then she's like, well, why would you be with somebody that abuses you? And then I could take it
Yeah.
back and think about, okay, I can't have kids, that makes me cry, so going through
Yeah.
that. So it was one of the hardest acting jobs, because they they knew why they were being
Mhm.
interviewed, but they still, I think it was 50-50.
Okay.
I think it was 50% was like, okay, they're really doing this to see if there's a change, and 50% was like, no,
Yeah.
this 60 days
Yeah.
in, this 60 days in right here.
A lot of the guys, I noticed they couldn't keep theirs. They couldn't. They kind of suspected. The ladies, you guys, did well, but the guys were like, I was like, nobody's gonna believe. I think one of the guys, he left anyway, but they were suspecting him right away. I believe, I can't remember his name, but yeah. Someone said you gotta stay in
Yeah, and
character.
it's, well, and the thing is, like, they suspected Jennifer and Ashley more so than
Yes.
me.
Mhm.
I had it, at first, but it was kind of bothersome, because it's like, uh, why am I fitting in with these criminals
Yeah.
so well? Like,
Yeah.
but it was, at the end of the day, they are criminals, but they're still
Right.
people. They still have emotions. They
Right.
still have feelings. They
Right.
still have regrets.
Right.
Some of them just made
Mhm.
mistakes. And so it was, being able to just really relate to that and not be afraid of them. That was the thing I was scared of, is because it's like, dude, I ain't been in a fight in some
Yeah.
years, and I'm like, I just don't want to have to fight
Right.
nobody. And it wasn't even like that. Um it was very interesting. It was just like it was just a little sisterhood. It got
Yeah.
crazy. It definitely could get crazy, but um it was a
Yeah.
blessing. It definitely was a blessing
Mhm.
to be able to be a part of it,
Mhm.
and you know get the story out
Mhm.
and have people think about jail differently, think about their health
Yeah,
differently,
yeah.
and think about all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, you brought awareness, and we thank you. I wanted to ask you my last question. What does the future look like for Miss Shanice, Drama Queen? Are we going to see you again? And what's your handles? Let me know your Instagram handles and things like that.
Yes. So I, because of the way that the production company inaccurately portrayed me, I started my own production company.
Okay, nice.
So yes, I started my own production company, and we started working on an actual documentary called Autoimmune Diseases, No More Suffering in
Oh, I
Silence.
love that.
And so we had a 3 minute, just kind of trailer out there to try to, get some investors, even trying to get to the point where, since I feel like I was failed by the
Yeah.
network, where they give me an opportunity to come in and really do my documentary through my Classy Creations production
Okay.
company, and really showcase, what it looks like, the documentary that we did. It was actually, my mother was a part of it, because I never thought about what it feels like to have a family member that has an autoimmune
Yeah.
disease, what it feels like to raise a child. And so in the 3 minute episodes, you'll see a young girl that has, I think she was 8, and her father was on there. And so just talking about that. And so we're looking at, just getting the financial
Hmm.
backing to do the autoimmune disease documentary. I have a couple of books. I am an author now, so I have books on
Nice.
Amazon. So I'm working on some books about, different autoimmune diseases, and how, in more of a creative way, and doing some other projects to bring out positivity. It doesn't, the TV, every time you turn on the television, it doesn't always have to be about entertainment.
Mhm.
My YouTube, you can see that on the Drama Queen. Queen is with a K vlog. I have a lot of my movies and short films and things out there that we're working on. So I just kind of want to change the narrative that we don't always have to entertain. We can
Yes.
educate, we can empower, we can uplift people. So just working on projects that are doing that. I actually have a meeting with my manager on Sunday about a project that I want to pitch to a network, and it's kind of a reality type competition, but more on a positive side. So looking at doing that. And what else? I'm looking at doing some, with my book, doing an animated series about autoimmune diseases, just continuing to bring awareness, working with different organizations. Right now, there's a card that one of the organizations on Instagram has that, you can take to a restaurant, and you can say, hey, I have celiac, this is what it
Yeah.
is. And so I am going to, I'm trying to figure out exactly how to put together a program where we can get those cards to people all over, and to get the jails on board. So, because one of the questions when I was in jail was, when I told them I had celiac disease, was, do you have a doctor's
Yes.
note? Well, who in the hell is in jail? First of all, they take everything away
Right.
from you.
Right.
So when you go to jail, so no, I don't have a doctor's note. No, I don't have my doctor's number
Not on this.
memorized. So having some type of card where, if you go to jail, you can provide that information. You can have your doctor's number on
Hmm.
there, where you can give that to them when you're checked
Nice.
in, so they know what it is. And so they can be made aware, getting the posters into the jails and the prisons to say, this is what celiac disease is. This is the intolerance. These are the allergies, the things that they're intolerant of, they can't eat. And so just really becoming an advocate for not only celiac disease, but, other autoimmune
Mhm.
diseases, because they affect mostly women and women of
Yeah.
color. And
Yeah.
so, once you have one, you have more than one. And the more that you are that the later in life that you were diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, the more chance that you're going to develop other autoimmune diseases. And so for me, I was diagnosed with celiac, I think at 29. And so because I was misdiagnosed for so long, that's why I couldn't have kids. I can't have kids because all that damage was, it just messed me up internally. So if I can go in and help somebody else recognize earlier, hey, this might be something that I'm suffering with. I need to go get checked with celiac. So that's just what I'm trying to become an advocate so people can become aware earlier and not have the trials, the tribulations, the surgeries. I've had so many surgeries. I've been in the hospital. I've been sick. I've missed work. And so just becoming an advocate and becoming, a mouthpiece where if people have questions, I don't mind being transparent about that part of my life. There's parts of my life that I'm not willing to be transparent about. But when you talk about, being an autoimmune disease warrior and informant, that is what I want to do. And I want to leave my legacy. So when I leave this earth, people know who Shanese is and they remember. And just as they talk about Rosa Parks, it's just as they talk about my soror Maya Angelou, just as they talk about other prominent African American women, I want to be one of those women that is remembered and made a change in the community, and not the community, but just the world.
Yes, and you are.
Prisons in other countries.
Yeah, there you go. They're going to know, Shanese. I appreciate you being on Life Heard podcast. Thank you for such a power-packed, informative interview. I mean, I love that you are going to be an advocate from this and having your own production. Applaud to that. Y'all gonna get it right, okay?
For real, you gonna get it. You gonna learn today, honey.
We definitely gotta follow up with you. I definitely want to see how you are doing. And once again, thank you for being a part of Life Her. And the viewers are loving it. They are really, commenting and everything. Well, you can see the comments as well. So thank you so much, Shanese. I'm gonna let you go. Yeah. Well, you have a good night, and thank you once again.
All right. Thank you. Bye.